The Dark Night of the Soul, Transforming Despair into Spiritual Depth. 5. Spiritual Awakening Book 5. Narrator/producer. Soul's Sanctuary Audio. Copyright Serafina Hartwell. Introduction. Spiritual awakening is often romanticized as a euphoric experience filled with peace, clarity, and light. But many who walk this path discover a profound paradox. True awakening frequently begins with darkness. The dark night of the soul is not a mistake on the journey. It is the journey. It is the sacred unraveling that makes way for deeper truth, inner freedom, and soul alignment. Unlike the heightened, blissful states we often associate with spiritual progress, the dark night strips us bare. It asks us to shed illusions, to let go of everything that is not truly us. And it does so not gently, but with radical precision. We are not punished by the darkness. We are refined in IT. This book is for those who find themselves in the in-between, no longer who they were, and not yet who they are becoming. It is for the seeker in crisis, the empath in overwhelm, the mystic in silence. Through these pages, I hope to offer companionship, language, and light for the path that can feel so isolating and silent. This is not a manual for escaping the dark night. It is a companion guide for walking through it with presence, grace, and owl. The dark night humbles us. It interrupts the ego's grip and peels away the layers of who we thought we were, leaving us raw and question. The teachings of this space are not always easy to digest, but they are anchored. The dark night teaches us to stop performing, to stop striving, and to rest in our essence. In the silence of despair, the soul finds its true voice. For centuries, mystics, saints, and spiritual seekers have described the dark night in different terms: the cloud of unknowing, the desert of the soul, the long winter. It is not unique to any one religion or philosophy. It is a universal part of the human spiritual journey. In Christianity, Saint John of the Cross gave it its name. In Buddhism, it's described through the suffering that precedes enlightenment. In indigenous traditions, it is often seen as an initiation, a rite of passage. This stage is not linear, nor is it predictable. It can last weeks, months, or even years. And yet, each dark night is perfectly tailored to the soul it seeks to awaken. Though painful, it is not without purpose. The invitation is not to escape it, but to yield to it, to allow it to do the work of deep soul transformation. Throughout this book, we'll move gently through the phases of the dark night, from disorientation to surrender, from breakdown to breakthrough. I will offer insights, stories, and practices that serve not as fixes, but as companions, tools to help you sit with what is, and move through what you must. Above all, I want you to know this: you are not alone. You are not broken. You are not failing. What you are going through is real, and it is holy. 1. When the light goes out, what the darkness invites, it often begins quietly. A creeping sense of disconnection, a fatigue that rest can't fix, the loss of joy in things that once brought happiness. For some, it begins with a dramatic life change. A relationship ends, a loved one passes, a care, or dissolves. For others, it's more subtle, an internal shift that slowly unravels the illness. Ion of control. One day, you wake up and realize that the things you used to care about don't matter in the same way. You feel untethered, even hollow. Life moves around you, but you no longer feel part of it. The world grows dimmer, not because something external has changed, but because the inner light seems to have gone out. This is the entry point, the threshold, the moment where the journey inward begins in earnest. And while it can feel like death, it is often the first stirrings of the soul wreck. liming its space. This chapter opens the door to what many fear but few understand, the invitation of spiritual darkness. Not depression in the clinical sense, though the two can overlap. Not punies, meant but passage. The dark night is a soul-initiated rite of passage designed to dismantle everything false in order to reveal what is true. Many people mistake this stage for failure. They assume they are regressing, losing progress, or somehow being punies, head by the universe. But the dark night is not a detour from the path. It is the path. It is the soul's call to come home, to return to the essence of who you are beneath all conditioning. We explore the signs of entering this space. A sudden or gradual detachment from outer war. LD goals and identities. Questioning the purpose of life, spiritual beliefs, or even the existence of God. Heightened sensitivity to noise, inflict, superficiality. A deep inner pull towards solitude and silence. Emotional or existential despair without clear external cause. These signs are not problems to fix, but messengers to listen to. The soul is asking for deeper attention. The old ways no longer work, not because something is wrong, but because you are outgrowing them. Rather than labeling these signs as breakdown, this chapter encourages reframe, ing them as breakthrough. The old self is dying, and while this can feel terrifying, it is also deeply sacred. Readers are reminded that they are not broken. They are being broken open. There is an intelligence to the dark night. It comes when the soul is ready, even if the ego resists. It clears away the noise so we can hear the whisper of truth. And though the process may be excruciating, it is ultimately liberating. With gentle reflections, affirmations, and grounding practices, we support the reader in softening resistance to the unknown, honoring the need to slow down and retreat, beginning to listen not for answers, but for inner truth, recognizing that the absence of joy is not the absence of life, but an invitation to deeper life, trusting that what feels like the end may, in fact, be the beginning. Here is a simple practice to begin this journey. Darkness as a teacher. Meditation. Sit in a quiet space with the lights dimmed or turned off. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. Allow yourself to be held by the darkness. Say silently, I welcome what I cannot see. I trust what I do not know. I am willing to be changed. Rest in the silence for 5 to 10 minutes. Notice any sensations, thoughts, or emotions. Let them be. When you feel ready, gently open your eyes and write down any insights or feelings that emerged. This practice doesn't offer instant clarity, but it honors the mystery. It helps you begin a relationship with the unknown. Itch is the heart of the dark night. When the light goes out, does not mean the journey is over. It means the journey is beginning at a deeper level. In the silence that follows, the soul begins to speak. In the dark, we do not see less, we begin to see differently. Let this chapter be your invitation, not to understand everything, but to trust what is unfolding. The darkness is not against you. It is the part of your journey that calls you home. 2. Loss of faith, loss of self. Unraveling the false. The experience of losing faith can be one of the most destabilizing aspects of the dark night. Whether it's faith in a religious tradition, a spiritual teacher, the universe, or simply in life itself, this loss often leaves us feeling abandoned and adrift. Just as disorienting is the loss of our constructed self, the identity we've spent a lifetime building. When both faith and self dissolve, it can feel as if the very ground beneath us has disappeared. And yet, paradoxically, this groundlessness is what allows us to encounter something far deeper than any inherited belief or personality construct, the truth of our soul. This chapter explores the sacred unraveling of the ego and the crisis of faith that often accompanies spiritual awakening. It offers context, compassion, and tools to navigate the uncomfortable, confusing, and often lonely territory of spiritual disillusionment. The fracturing of faith. Faith, for many, is a container, a structure that holds our understanding of reality. It can be shaped by upbringing, religion, cultural norms, or personal spiritual experiences. It offers comfort, predictability, and meaning. But what happens when that container breaks? For some, the loss of faith comes gradually. It may start with a few uncomfortable questions that lead to doubts, which then spread like cracks through the foundation. For others, it happens abruptly, a spiritual betrayal, a traumatic event, or a prayer that goes unanswered can shatter faith in a moment. In the dark night, this collapse is not an error. It is the soul's call to let go of second-hand beliefs in order to encounter the divine directly. What once held truth may now feel hollow. The rituals, prayers, and affirmations that once brought peace may now feel like empty gestures. And this disillusionment is terrifying because it leaves us feeling alone in a universe that no longer makes sense. Yet within this loss is an opening. The mind's loss of control creates a space for the soul to speak. When old beliefs fall away, we become available to a deeper intimacy with the mystery. The death of identity. Just as painful is the simultaneous collapse of personal identity. The dark night often involves a stripping away of the roles we once played: the helper, the achiever, the seeker, the spiritual person. These identities may have once served us, but in the dark night, they begin to feel constricting, even false. You may no longer recognize yourself. What once felt inspiring or purposeful now feels meaningless. People may comment that you seem distant or changed. Inside, you feel like you're floating in a fog, unsure of who you are or where you're going. This is not failure. It is transformation. The old self is dying to make way for a more authentic being to emerge. One not built on external validation or internalized expectations, but on soul essence. This in-between space is called liminality in spiritual and psychological traditions. It's the threshold between identities, where the old has fallen away and the new has not yet formed. It's uncomfortable, uncertain, and deeply sacred. The illusion of certainty. Both faith and identity often give us the illusion of certainty. We think we know who we are, what we believe, what life means. But the dark night reveals how much of that certainty was constructed, borrowed, or inherited. The invitation of this chapter is not to replace old beliefs with new ones, or to rush to build a new identity. Instead, it's to allow the emptiness to teach us, to stay present in the gap between who we were and who we are becoming, to tolerate the discomfort of not knowing. This is where real spiritual maturity is born. Practices for the unraveling. 1. The mirror of self-inquiry. Set aside time to sit quietly with a journal. Ask yourself, who am I without my roles, beliefs, or spiritual practices? What aspects of myself feel like performances? What truth am I afraid to admit to myself? Let whatever arises come, without judgment. The goal is not to find answers, but to meet yourself honestly. 2. Releasing the need for answers. Spend 5 minutes a day in silent meditation with no agenda. Sit with the question, what if I don't need to know right now? Let go of striving. Just be with whatever arises. 3. Honoring the loss. Grieve the loss of old beliefs and identities. Write a letter of farewell to a version of yourself or a faith tradition you are letting go of. Thank it for what it gave you. Bless it. Release it. 4. Trusting the soul's intelligence. Even when you feel lost, remember that your soul is guiding this process. This is not random chaos. It is sacred alchemy. Repeat this affirmation. Even when I don't understand, I trust that something deeper is unfolding. Words from the path. Many mystics and teachers have described this stage. Thomas Merton called it a purification so deep that it seems to be an annihilation. Teresa of Avila described feeling abandoned by God for years. The Buddha left his life of comfort and underwent years of intense suffering before his awakening. You are in good company. The loss of faith and self is not a failure to awaken, but the birthing ground of awakening itself. A closing blessing. May you find the courage to let go of who you thought you were. May your unraveling be gentle, and when it is not, may you know it is sacred. May your empty hands become open hands. May the silence reveal its song. May you trust that in this very loss, something eternal is being found. The dark night strips us, not to leave us bare, but to show us that we were never the mask. In losing what we thought was faith, we find trust. In losing who we thought we were, we find who we have always been. In the next chapter, we will explore what happens when the breakdown deepens, when sorrow becomes a sacred presence and grief becomes a guide. 3. The beauty in breakdown. Sacredness in sorrow. In the stillness that follows the unraveling of identity and belief, a deeper truth begins to stir. Sorrow is sacred. Not as punishment, but as purification. Not as weakness, but as witness. What we often call breakdown, emotional collapse, despair, hopelessness, is not the end of the story. It is a profound threshold. In this chapter, we step into the heart of that breakdown and discover the quiet, often unexpected beauty waiting within. For those experiencing the dark night, sorrow can feel like an endless wave. It crashes in without warning, at times soft and steady, at other times overwhelming. You may cry without knowing why. Grief may surface seemingly out of nowhere, and in those moments, it is easy to feel like you're falling apart. But what if falling apart is sacred? The gift of breakdown. When the mind no longer knows what to do, and the heart cannot hold any more, something ancient and wise awakens. Breakdown strips us of our defenses. It brings us face to face with our raw, unfiltered humanity. In that meeting, a great tenderness is born. We begin to discover that our strength is not in holding everything together, but in allowing ourselves to feel what is real. In spiritual traditions around the world, breakdown has long been seen as a precursor to breakthrough. The alchemists understood this. Before gold can emerge, the old material must dissolve. Mystics have spoken of divine desolation as a phase of union with the sacred. In psychology, the term creative depression describes the fertile ground that follows the collapse of old structures. When everything falls away, we meet the so. L. Making space for sorrow. Modern culture is not comfortable with sorrow. We are taught to avoid it, fix it, or hide it. Productivity is praised, positivity is glorified, and emotional pain is often pathologized. D. Yet sorrow is a natural, intelligent response to loss. It is the heart's way of releasing, cleansing, and heal. ing. In the dark night, sorrow becomes a teacher. It asks us to slow down, to feel more deeply, to listen more tly. It reveals where we have been carrying pain, often for years or decades. It brings to light the suppressed griefs we have never spoken, the disappointments we never allowed ourselves to acknowledge. Allowing ourselves to feel sorrow fully is not indulgence. It is initiation. The language of the soul. Tears are a language. Silence is a language. The heaviness in your chest, the ache in your belly, the trembling in your hands, These are not symptoms to be medicated away. They are the body's wisdom speaking. When you listen closely, you begin to hear the messages behind the sorrow. Sorrow may be saying, I miss the part of me I abandoned. I'm mourning a dream that never came. E to B. I'm grieving the truth I kept. T hidden. I'm releasing the stories that no longer serve me. When we stop judging our sorrow, it transforms. It softens us. It deepens our compassion. It awakens empathy for others. And it connects us to the vast field of human experience, a field where no one is truly alone. Sacred practices for holding sorrow. 1. The healing power of presence. Set a timer for 10 minutes. Sit in a quiet space. Place your hand over your heart. With each breath, silently say, I am here with you. Allow any emotion to arise. Stay present. You don't have to analyze or fix anything. Just be. 2. Create a grief altar. Designate a small space in your home for grief. Place a candle, a flower, a stone, anything that represents your sorrow. Visit this space each day. Light the candle. Speak to your sorrow. Honor it. This becomes a sacred ritual. Acknowledgement. 3. Journal the unspoken. Write a letter to your sorrow. Let it speak. Ask it what it wants you to know. Write without censoring. Let the tears fall on the page if they come. This act alone is profoundly healing. For movement as release. Grief lives in the body. Create space each day to move. Stretch, dance, walk, or shake. Let your body express what words cannot. Even a few minutes can begin to move stagnant. Emotional energy. Trusting the breakdown. Trusting in the wisdom of breakdown means trusting in the wisdom of your soul. It means believing that what is falling apart is not who you truly are, but what no longer reveals you're becoming. It means remembering that no matter how lost you feel, you are not off your path, You are deep within it. We are not meant to be strong all the time. We are not meant to be cheerful or composed while undergoing spiritual surgery. The dark night does not require your perfection. It asks NLY for your presence. Reflections from the deep. Think of a time when you wept freely without shame. What happened afterward? Think of someone who has held your sorrow with compassion. How did that affect you? What would it mean to hold your own sorrow? The same tenderness. In praise of the broken open, there is a Japanese art form called kintsugi, where broken pot is mended with gold. The cracks are not hidden, they are celebrated. The object is seen as more beautiful for having been broken. So it is with the soul. Your sorrow is not a flaw. It is gold waiting to be revealed. Breakdown is not a failure of your strength, but an invitation to deeper truth. When you allow yourself to break open, you discover that your heart is not fragile. It is vast. Within your pain lives your power. Within your sorrow, your sacred self. A final blessing for this chapter. May you no longer fear the waves that rise within you. May you welcome our tears as sacred messengers. May you see beauty in your brokenness. May you rest not in solutions, but in your own tender truth. May your sorrow become a doorway through which your soul walks freely. In Chapter 4, we will explore how to stay with this without being consumed by it. We will begin the process of emotional alchemy, learning how to hold suffering with enough that it begins to transform. For emotional alchemy, holding pain with presence. As we move deeper into the sacred journey of the dark night, we begin to understand that pain is not the enemy. It is a messenger. And the way we respond to pain determines whether it becomes a wound or a doorway. This chapter invites us into the profound practice of emotional alchemy, the transformation of Su, furring into wisdom through presence. Emotional alchemy does not require fixing, controlling, or escaping pain. It requires only one thing: that we stay, that we breathe, that we meet our pain with enough awareness and compassion that it begins to reveal what lies underneath. What is emotional alchemy? Alchemy, in its ancient sense, is the spiritual and mystical process of turning lead into gold, of transforming something heavy and debase into something radiant and pure. Emotional alchemy is this same principle applied to the heart. It is the art of turning grief, rage, fear, or despair into clarity, compassion, strength, and truth. Emotional alchemy begins when we stop resisting what we feel and start listening to it. When we treat emotions not as obstacles to spirituality but as expressions of the soul. When we no longer see pain as something to be conquered but as something to be held. In this chapter, we will explore how to be present with pain without being overwhelmed by it. We will learn how to listen deeply to what our emotions are trying to communicate and how to stay grounded in our bodies as we do so. The cost of avoidance. Most of us have learned to avoid pain at all costs. We've learned to distract ourselves, numb ourselves, or spiritualize our way out of discomfort. We might try to affirm away our sadness, rationalize our anger, or bypass our fear. But all this avoidance comes at a cost. What we suppress does not disappear. It burrows deeper into the body and psyche, showing up later as anxiety, disconnection, illness, or self-sabotage. Emotions are energy in motion. When we allow them to move through us, they stagnate. Emotional alchemy begins with allowing, with feeling, with staying present in the discomfort long enough to hear what it has to say. Meeting pain with presence. Presence is not about fixing pain. It is about being with it, holding it, witnessing it without judgment. When we offer our pain the gift of our full attention, something begins to shift. Try this. Think of a time when someone listened to you without interrupting, without offering advice, without trying to change you, just listened. How did that feel? Now, imagine offering that same presence to your own heart. Presence transforms. When we sit with sorrow and say, "I am here," it softens. When we breathe into our grief instead of resisting it, it moves. When we stop judging our anger and start listening to its wisdom, it reveals what it was protecting. This is emotional alchemy. The body as a portal. Emotions are not abstract. They live in the body. When we experience intense emotion, our bodies respond with tightness, heat, trembling, pressure. These sensations are not problems to solve. They are doorways. By tuning into the body, we can meet our emotions directly without the stories and mental spirals that often accompany them. The body speaks a language of sensation, and when we learn to listen, we begin to heal. Body presence practice. Sit or lie down in a safe space. Close your eyes. Bring to mind a recent emotional trigger. Notice what you feel in your body. Where is the tension? Is there heat, pressure, numbness? Place your hands gently on that area. Breathe into it. Say silently, "I am here. I feel you. I'm listening." Stay for a few minutes. Let the sensation shift on its own. Trust the wisdom of your body. Emotional alchemy in practice. 1. Naming the emotion. Begin by naming what you feel. I feel sad. I feel angry. I feel scared. Naming brings clarity. It moves the emotion out of the fog and into the light. 2. Locating in the body. Ask yourself, where do I feel this in my body? Is it in the chest, stomach, throat? Place a hand there. Breathe. 3. Validating the feelings. Say to yourself, it makes sense that I feel this way. Even if the emotion seems irrational, there is a part of you that is trying to be heard. Honor it. 4. Asking for the message. Emotions carry information. Ask, what are you trying to show me? What do you need from me? Listen with curiosity. 5. Offering compassion. Imagine holding the emotion like a child. Say, I'm here. I won't leave you. These 5 steps may sound simple, but they are deeply transformative. When practiced regularly, they change our relationship with ourselves. They allow our inner world to soften and open, transmuting pain into power. As you practice emotional alchemy, you may begin to notice something surprising. The very emotions you once feared become sources of strength. Grief becomes compassion. Anger becomes boundaries. Fear becomes intuition. Shame becomes self-acceptance. This is not a linear process. It is cyclical, layered, and often messy. But over time, as you meet your pain with presence, it begins to serve you rather than sabotage you. This is how the soul heals, not by escaping pain, but by embracing it until it reveals its sacred purpose, holding space for others. As you deepen your own practice of emotional alchemy, you may find yourself more capable of holding space for others. When you have sat with your own grief, you can sit with someone else's without needing to fix it. When you have honored your own anger, you can recognize it in others without fear. Emotional alchemy makes us more human, more available, more attuned. It gives us the capacity to meet the world with depth and authenticity. Reflection questions. What emotions do I find hardest to stay present with? Why? What stories do I tell myself about these emotions? What would it feel like to meet these emotions with love instead of fear? A final blessing. May you sit with your sorrow until it softens. May you breathe with your fear until it speaks. May you welcome your anger until it teaches. May you cradle your shame until it releases. May you remember, every emotion is a bridge back to your soul. 5. Shadow Work 101. Meeting what's been buried. As we continue through the dark night of the soul, we arrive at one of the most transformative aspects of inner work, shadow work. The shadow is a term coined by Swiss psychologist Carl Jung to describe the unconscious parts of ourselves we disown, suppress, or deny. It includes everything we've learned to hide, our fears, wounds, shames, cravings, and even our unclaimed gifts. In the journey of awakening, these buried parts do not disappear. They wait. They show up in our triggers, our projections, our addictions, our relationships, and our self-sabotage. And in the dark night, they rise to the surface, not to torment us, but to be seen, embraced, and integrated. This chapter is your entry into the brave work of shadow integration. It's not glamorous. It's often uncomfortable, but it is some of the most powerful healing you will ever do. What is the shadow? The shadow is everything in us that we do not want to see. It's the inner critic, the jealous part, the angry one, the part that craves validation, the part that resents others, the vulnerable child who learned to hide to feel safe. But the shadow I is not only negative, it also includes repressed brilliance, your intuition, creativity, sexuality, assertiveness, and power. These were often shamed or misunderstood in childhood, and thus exiled to the unconscious. When we begin shadow work, we move into radical honesty. We stop trying to be the good person or the spiritual person and start being the whole person. We make space for the complexity of who we are. Why shadow work matters. What we deny controls us. What we avoid within ourselves is what we end up projecting onto others. Unmet shame becomes judgment. Unacknowledged fear becomes control. Repressed rage becomes passive aggression. Shadow work brings freedom. By bringing light into the dark corners of the psyche, we become more conscious, less reactive, and more empowered. We begin to respond to life from wholeness rather than from wounds. This chapter will guide you through foundational principles and practices to meet your shadow with compassion and courage. Signs your shadow is calling. You feel disproportionate emotional reactions to small events. You find yourself repeatedly triggered by certain people or situations. You feel shame or guilt that seems hard to explain. You engage in patterns of self-sabotage or addiction. You experience intrusive thoughts or strong inner criticism. These are not signs of failure. They are signs that something within you is asking for your attention. Principles of shadow work. 1. Compassion over condemnation. You cannot shame yourself into wholeness. Shadow work requires love. The goal is not to fix yourself, but to make peace with your complexity. 2. Curiosity over control. Approach your inner world with curiosity. Ask, what is this emotion or behavior trying to show me? What part of me has been trying to protect me in this way? 3. Ownership over projection. Whatever we judge harshly in others often reflects something unresolved in us. Use projection as a mirror. Ask, what am I seeing in them that I've disowned in myself? Practices for shadow work. 1. Journaling with the shadow. Choose a trigger you experienced recently. Ask, what emotion did I feel? What story did I make up about it? What fear, memory, or unmet need might be underneath? What part of me felt threatened or unseen? Write freely. Let the shadow speak. Do not censor. Let it rage, weep, confess. 2. Dialogue with a disowned part. Close your eyes. Imagine a part of you you've rejected, perhaps your anger, your neediness, or your jealousy. See this part as a younger version of yourself. What do they look like? How do they feel? Now ask them, what are you trying to protect? What do you need from me? What do you want me to understand? Listen, then offer compassion. Let them know you see them. 3. Mirror work for shadow integration. Look into a mirror. Say aloud things you might be afraid to admit. I feel jealous. I want to be seen. I'm angry and scared. Let it be okay. Then affirm. I love all parts of me. I am becoming whole. Embracing the gift in the shadow. Each part of the shadow holds a gift. Your anger holds your boundaries. Your fear holds your sensitivity. Your envy holds your desire. Your shame holds your longing to belong. When we meet the shadow with understanding, these gifts begin to emerge. We reclaim energy that was once used to suppress. We begin to embody a fuller expression of who we are. Healing shame through truth. At the root of many shadow traits is shame, the feeling that something about us is inherently wrong. Shadow work is a way of healing shame through truth-telling. By naming what we've hidden, we rob shame of its power. Truth is light, and when we bring light into the shadow, healing begins. Affirmation: there is nothing in me that is unworthy of love. Integration over perfection. Shadow work is not about perfection. It is about integration. Wholeness includes the light and the dark, the joy and the sorrow, the rage and the peace. You are not here to be flawless. You are here to be real. The more you accept your shadow, the less you need to hide. The more you love your shadow, the less power it has over you. A final blessing. May you meet your shadow not with fear, but with tenderness. May the parts you have buried come into the light and find love. May your wholeness become your strength. May your truth set you free. In Chapter 6, we will walk through the sacred terrain of grief, not just as an emotional release, but as a spiritual initiation. For in letting go of what once was, we open to what can be. 6. Walking through grief. Loss as spiritual initiation. Grief is a companion on every authentic spiritual path. It comes not only when someone dies, but when something within us dies. A belief, a role, a dream, or a relationship. In the dark night of the soul, grief often arrives uninvited, heavy, and confusing. But when welcomed and witnessed, grief becomes not just a release, but a powerful rite of passage. In this chapter, we explore grief not merely as an emotional state, but as a spiritual teacher. We examine how grief, when fully felt, opens the heart, deepens wisdom, and paves the way for transformation. This is the sacred work of letting go. What is spiritual grief? Spiritual grief differs from everyday sorrow. It transcends individual events and taps into something much larger, the ache of soul evolution. This is the grief of realizing you are no longer who you were and not yet who you are becoming. It is the grief of outgrowing people and places that once felt like home. It is the grief of knowing that awakening comes with a cost, the loss of illusion, comfort, and often community. This grief may feel irrational or disproportionate. You may weep over something small, only to realize you're crying for everything, for the times you betrayed yourself, for the people who misunderstood you, for the world as it is. And yet, in that great sorrow, something deeper begins to awaken. Presence. Types of grief on the spiritual path. Loss of identity. The person you thought you were begins to dissolve. You grieve the old self, even if it was constructed on illusion. Loss of relationships. As you grow, some relationships may fall away. The grief of separation is real, even when it's aligned. Loss of belonging. Awakening can isolate you from communities, ideologies, or traditions you once held dear. Loss of certainty. You may grieve the security of dogma, answers, and external structures of meaning. Each of these losses deserves to be honored. To bypass them is to delay healing. To feel them is to be initiated into deeper truth. Grief as an initiation. In many ancient cultures, grief was not hidden or rushed. It was ritualized, witnessed, and given time. Women would wail, men would tear their garments, and communities would gather to hold space. Grief was recognized as sacred. Today, we are often expected to move on quickly, to medicate grief away, or to hide it behind a mask of functionality. But the soul knows better. The soul knows that grief is not a detour from the path. It is the path. Grief initiates us into our depth. It cracks us open. It humbles us. And in its rawness, it offers clarity about what matters about who we are and about what we're ready to release. Honoring the process. Grief is not linear. It moves in waves. Some days you may feel peaceful, and others you may be overwhelmed with sorrow. There is no correct timeline. The work is not to control grief, but to surrender to its rhythm. Ways to support yourself. 1. Create a grief ritual. Light a candle each day. Speak aloud the name of what you're grieving. Write it down. Sing. Cry. Give grief form. Ritual makes the invisible visible. 2. 10 of the body. Grief lives in the body. Allow yourself to sleep more, eat nourishing food, take baths, or simply lie on the ground. Let the body feel held. 3. Let yourself be witnessed. Speak your grief aloud to someone you trust. If no one is available, speak it to nature, to your journal, or to the divine. Being seen softens the isolation of sorrow. 4. Welcome the waves when grief arises. Pause. Place a hand on your heart. Say, "You are welcome here." Let the emotion move. Don't analyze or interrupt. Simply allow. 5. Express creatively. Draw, paint, sing, dance, or write poetry. Art gives shape to grief and transforms pain into beauty. What grief reveals? Beneath every grief is love. We grieve what we have cherished, hoped for, or believed in. To grieve is to love deeply. Sometimes grief uncovers truths we didn't want to see, the ways we abandoned ourselves to be loved, the illusions we clung to, the compromises we made. Grief invites us to reckon with reality, and in doing so, it frees us. Grief also reveals resilience. You learn that you can survive heartbreak. That tears do not mean weakness. That falling apart can lead to falling into grace. Questions for reflection. What am I grieving that I have not fully acknowledged? What am I afraid will happen if I allow myself to feel this grief? What did I love, hope for, or believe in that is now changing? How can I honor what I've lost while opening to what might be born? A note on collective grief. We are not only grieving our personal lives. We are grieving for the planet, for injustice, for generations of trauma. This collective grief is valid. If you feel overwhelmed, it may be because you are feeling what others cannot. You are a vessel for healing. Let your personal grief be the portal through which you touch the collective. And let your healing be a prayer for the world. Grief and grace. In the heart of grief, something unexpected begins to emerge. Grace. It does not erase the pain, but it holds it. You begin to feel accompanied. You sense the presence of something vaster than yourself. You begin to trust the wisdom of loss. To see endings not as failures, but as beginnings in disguise. You begin to let go of what was, not because it didn't matter, but because something else is calling you for war. Grief becomes a teacher, a guide, a compagnie, a final blessing. May your tears water the seeds of your becoming. May your sorrow carve space for deeper joy. May your grief be held as holy. May you trust that nothing true is ever lost. May you rise, not despite your grief, but because of it. In Chapter 7, we enter the silence. We explore the sacred void that follows loss, a space of deep listening, stillness, and mystery. For in the absence of noise, we begin to hear the soul. 7. The silence of the void, listening in stillness. There comes a point in the dark night of the soul when even the tears begin to dry. Not because the grief has passed, but because something deeper is taking root. You enter a strange, unfamiliar space where the noise of longing and loss recedes, and all that remains is silence. This is void. The void is not a place of nothingness. It is a space of pure potential, a sacred pause, a holy rest. In the journey of awakening, the void is the liminal space between what was and what will be. It is the womb of becoming. And while it may feel like abandonment, in truth, it is a profound invitation to listen, to trust, and to simply be. What is void? The void is the space after release and before renewal. It is what mystics call the desert or the great silence. Here, the ego has loosened, the grief has been expressed, and the next step has not yet revealed. Itself. There are no clear answers in the void, no external validation. Often, there is no sense of direction. It can feel like floating in the dark, tethered. The temptation to fill the silence can be strong, but the spiritual gift of the void lies precisely in its stillness. It is the invitation to cease doing and beg. In being, common experiences in the void, a sense of spiritual dryness or lack of connection to the divine, feeling emotionally flat, numb, or neutral after intense grief. No desire to engage with usual spiritual practices. An absence of direction, purpose, or goals. A longing for clarity without receiving it. These are not signs of regression. They are signs of rest. The soul is recalibrating. Growth is happening. Underground. The purpose of the void. While the void can feel empty, it is actually full of unseen transformation. Think of winter. The trees appear barren, but deep beneath the soil, life is preparing to bloom. Similarly, in the void, our consciousness is ring to expand. The purpose of the void is to strip away false striving, to cultivate deep listen, and patience, to awaken inner trust without external cues, to create space for something new to emerge. Learning to listen. In the silence, the soul begins to whisper. But to hear it, we must quiet our need for immediate answers. This is difficult in a world obsessed with productivity and certainty. The void asks us to do the opposite, to wait, to trust, and to be still. Practice listening in stillness. Set aside 15 minutes of you, uninterrupted time. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. Place your hands over your heart. Say silently, I am open to receive. I trust the silence. Breathe. Do not expect messages. Simply rest in presence. Afterward, journal any sensations, images, or insights. Resisting the void. Most of us are conditioned to resist the void. We fear stillness because it brings us face to face with ourselves. In the absence of distraction, our unmet emotions, fears, and questions arise. But when we choose to resist the void, we miss its medicine. We stay in cycles of burnout, overeffort, and confusion. We keep reaching for solutions when the soul is asking for space. The way forward is not to fight the void, but to surrender to it. Surrender as a practice. Surrender does not mean giving up. It means releasing the illusion of control. It means trusting that not knowing is part of the path. Daily affirmations for surrender. I allow to be in the unknown. I trust that clarity come when I am ready. I don't have to rush what is sacred. The gifts of the void. When we accept the void, we begin to see its hidden blessings. Clarity. When the noise fades, what truly matters begins to rise. Integration. The healing work done in earlier ages settles into the body. Creativity. From emptiness, new inspiration is born. Spiritual maturity. We learn to walk without constant reassurance. Reflections for the void. What am I reeing to figure out or force? What would it feel like to stop striving? How do I elate to stillness and silence? Where in my life can I allow more spaciousness? Trusting the timing. The void will not last forever. Just as spring follows winter, a new chapter will begin. But it will unfold in its own time, not by force. Trust that what is gestating in the darkness will emerge with beauty and power. There is a rhythm to the soul's unfolding. The void honors that rhythm. When we align with it, we move with grace. A final blessing. May you find peace in the silence. May the stillness hold you in its gentle wisdom. May you let go of urgency and rest in trust. May your emptiness become a sacred space for new life. In Chapter 8, we'll explore the quiet beginnings of emergence. Just as seeds germinate in darkness, so too does the soul grow in unseen ways. We'll look at how to honor the slow rebirth and begin to recognize the light within. 8. Seeds NTD in darkness. Growth unseen. Emergence does not always come with fanfare. Often, it begins so subtly that we hardly notice it. A small shift, a softening, a moment of stillness that feels more like peace than numbness. After the vast silence of the void, these glimmers are not a return to the old self, but the quiet awakening of a new one. This chapter is about those sacred beginnings, the moments when something inside begins to stir again, even if we can't yet name it. Just as seeds germinate beneath the soil long before they sprout, spiritual growth often unfolds in hidden ways. In this space, trust becomes our guiding light, the mystery of inner germination. Growth in the dark is slow, invisible. Often, we don't realize change is happening until much later. The same is true of the soul. During the void, even when nothing seems to be happening, layers are shedding, energy is sure. Fting, and something new is being formed. The ego may panic, wanting certainty, direction, or proof. But the soul knows this is the time for deep trust. Trust that the inner work you've done is anchoring. Trust that your grief, your surrender, your silence has created fertile ground. This is the essence of emergence. We do not force it. We allow it. Early signs of emergence. A gentle curiosity about life returns. Moments of presence feel nourishing rather than effortful. Subtle urges to create, connect, or care for oneself. Renewed clarity about values or boundaries. Unexpected peace or gratitude. These signs are not always dramatic. They are soft, like the sun rising after a long night. When they come, we don't need to analyze them. We simply need to notice them, honor them, allow them to guide us without rushing. The art of tending the invisible. In gardening, we water the soil long before we see growth. We trust the process, even when the surface shows nothing. In spiritual emergence, the same principle applies. We learn to tend what we cannot see. Practices for tending the invisible. Create a seed journal. Each day, write one thing you notice within you, an insight, a feeling, a tiny impulse toward life. Treat each entry as a seed. Let your journal be a garden of becoming. Honor the subtle. Instead of waiting for grand awakenings, celebrate the quiet ones. A cambrea, a moment of laughter, a sense of connection. These are sacred. Practice gentle movement. Let your body be your ally. Yoga, walking, dancing, anything that connects you to the physical world helps integrate the spirai. Tool. Re-engage with ritual. If spiritual practices have felt hollow, begin again with simple rituals, lighting a candle, offering a prayer, creating a sacred space. Let meaning return. Lowly. Trusting the timing of your become. Emergence cannot be forced. Trying to accelerate your growth only creates resistance. This chapter reminds us that spiritual maturation is like nature. It unfolds in seasons. What is meant for you will emerge when the time is ripe. Learning to trust the timing of your own life is one of the greatest spiritual lessons. It requires humility, patience, and a willingness to be present with what is, not what we think is. Who'd be? Affirmation. I trust the timing of my becoming. I do not need to rush what I is sacred. Obstacles that arise during emergence. As we begin to emerge, resistance often appears. Old habits, doubts, or fears may resurface. This is natural. It does not mean you are regressing. It means your system is adjusting. Common challenges include feeling overwhelmed by re-enter, why into life, doubting your worth or progress, wanting to retreat back, to the void, comparing yourself to others. These challenges are part of the process. The key is to meet them with compassion, not judgment, to see them as growing pains, rather failures. Community and support. Emergence is a tender phase. Just like a sprouting seed needs gentle light, water, and protection, so too does your emerging self. This is a good time to reconnect with supportive people. Choose those who honor your pace, your truth, and your softness. If no such people exist in your life yet, become your own sacred witness. Speak to your soul as you would a child, with kindness, Patty, NCE, and belief. Reflection prompts. What new awareness is beginning Oh, stir within me. How can I honor the gentle Pak? Of my emergence. What small practices help me feel connected to life? Who or what apports my becoming? Embracing the unknown with hope. While the void teaches us to be with the unknown, emergence invites us to partner with it. We begin to ask not what is wrong with me, but what is being born in me? Hope returns, not as naive optimism, but as a quiet knowing that something meaningful is on its way. This kind of hope is rooted, grounded, and spacious. It does not demand. It trusts a final blessing. May you honor the seeds within you, even before they sprout. May you cherish the small signs of life returning. May you move at the pace of your soul, not the pace of the world. May you trust the darkness that held you and the light that calls you forward. In Chapter 9, we will explore how to nurture the inner HT that begins to grow. This is not the light we once chased outside ourselves, but the radiance we discover from within, the authentic light of our soul. 9. Finding inner light, emerging from within. As we begin to emerge from the long night of the soul, something profound shifts within us. It is not the return of the old light, the striving light, the light of performance or perfection. No, this is a gentler illumination, born from the silence, grief, and shadow we have traversed. It is a light that comes not from outside validation, but from within, a light that is native to the soul. In this chapter, we explore what it means to find and nurture that inner light. We'll learn to distinguish it from ego-driven brightness and external achievement. This is not about shining for the world. It's about embodying a quiet, anchored radiance. The T reflects your true essence, the nature of inner light. Inner light is not a concept. It is an experience. It is the sense of being at home within yourself. It is the warmth that fills you when you act in integrity, speak your truth, or extend compassion without an agenda. This light does not demand attention. It does not depend on being seen or understood. It is felt as peace, alignment, and presence. It emerges when we stop trying to be anything other than who we are. In the context of the dark night, inner light is the soul's way of saying, you made it through. Not in triumph, but in truth, recognizing the light within. Signs that your inner light is reawakening include a growing sense of self-acceptance, feeling more centered and less reactive, speaking more honestly and listening more deeply, finding beauty in simplicity, a desire to share, or create from a place of love. These signs may be subtle, but they are powerful. They signal that the inner world has shifted. The roots you've grown in the dark are now giving rise to light. The light is in the living. Often, people expect spiritual awakening to be dramatic. They imagine visions, revelations, or supernatural insight. But the truest awakenings happen in the small, grounded choices we make every day. You find your light in how you make your morning tea with intention. Speak gently to yourself after a mistake. Pause to breathe before reacting. Forgive someone not to condone them, but to free yourself. The light is in the living, not in aping life, but in embracing it fully. Practices to nurture inner light. The candle practice, each morning or evening, Light a candle. Sit with it for 5 minutes. As you watch the flame, affirm, the light within me is real. It is enough. It is sacred. Soul Integrity Journal. Reflect on the moments each day when you felt most aligned with your values. What choices supported your light? What dimmed it? Use this journal, not for judgment, but for witnessing, service from the soul. Offer something small each day without needing recognition. A kind word, a smile, a prayer for someone unseen. Essay, quiet acts of love amplify your light. Return to your body. Your body is a vessel for light. Spend time in practices that connect you to it. Mindful walking, intuitive movement, or MPLY, placing your hand over your heart. Shadows that return. Even as your light grows, old fears may revisit you. Doubts may whisper, who do you think you are? What if you fall again? This is natural. The ego resists change, even healing. When shadows return, don't see it as regression. See it as an invitation to shine your light more steadily. Speak to the fear. I see you. I understand why you're here. But I choose love now. Living light in the world. As your inner light strengthens, it becomes less about you and more about service. This doesn't mean martyrdom or self-neglect. It means living in a way that brings presence, healing, and truth into your relationships, work, and creativity. You do not need to save the world, but by being a light, you help others remember their own. Reflection prompts. What does light mean to me beyond achievement or image? How do I feel when I am aligned with my inner light? What practices help me reconnect when I forget my light? Who in my life reflects their light in a way that inspires me? The inner light is not fragile. One of the myths we carry is that inner light is delicate, easily lost. But the opposite is true. Inner light is resilient. It survives shadow, heartbreak, and silence. It grows stronger through each season of the soul. If you are reading this and still feel unsure, know this: your light never left you. It was simply covered by the layers life taught you to wear. As you shed those layers, what remains is not brokenness. It is brilliance, a final bless. May your inner light rise softly, steadily, and surely. May it illuminate your path, not with certainty, but with truth. May you trust your radiance, even when the world forgets how to see it. May your life become a reflection of the love you've reclaimed wit. In Chapter 10, we'll explore what it means to live from this renewed self. We'll dive into the energy of resurrection, not as a return to what was, but as a rising into what is now possible. 10. Resurrection energy, rising R. Inud. You have journeyed through the darkness. You've sat with grief, faced your shadow, surrendered to silence, and allowed something new to be planted in the unseen places of your soul. Now, something within you is rising, not with haste or fanfare, but with the steady grace of a soul that remembers its truth. This is resurrection. Energy. Resurrection is not a return to the past. It is not a restoration of what once was. It is a becoming. It is the embodiment of the lessons learned, the healing integrated, and the soul reclaimed. In this chapter, we explore what it means to live as a renewed being, anchored, authentic, and alive. The essence of resurrection energy. Resurrection energy is quite strong. It's the peace that no longer needs to prove anything. It is clarity born from chaos and humble confidence because it's rooted in experience. When you rise renewed, you do not deny your scars. You carry them as symbols of your becoming. You walk differently, speak more truthfully, and love more freely. You move through the world not with armor, but with grounded Presence. The sign. S of rising. Resurrection may look different for everyone, but common SI. GNS include a newfound clarity about what matters to you, boundaries that arise naturally, without resentment, a desire to simplify and align your life with your values, the ability to hold joy and sorrow simultaneously, a sense of inner authority. You trust yourself more deeply. You are not trying to be someone new. You are remembering who you are. The shift from surviving to thriving. During the dark night, your focus was survival. How do I get through this? As resurrection begins, that question shifts. How do I live in alignment? This is the moment when you begin to make choices from love instead of fear, from truth instead of people-pleasing, from inner knowing rather than external pressure. You begin to ask, what do I truly desire now? What ways of being no longer serve me? How can I bring my soul into very area of my life? Daily life as sacred expression. Resurrection doesn't require you to become a guru or mystic. It invites you to bring your awakini into the ordinary. You live your truth in the kitchen, in conversations, in how you rest, eat, work, and relate. Your life becomes an altar, not because it is perfect, but because it is present. Simple ways to embody resurrection energy. Speak your truth gently, but clearly to yourself and others. Say yes only when you mean it, and no without guilt. Create beauty in your space, flowers, music, art, anything that reflects your inner renewal. Stay connected to the body. Resurrection is not just mental or spiritual, it's embodied. Forgive yourself fully. Let shame fall away as the soul no longer needs its weight. Relationships after resurrection. As you rise, some relationships will shift. You may find that certain dynamics no longer feel aligned. This is not a failure. It is evolution. Honor what was and trust what is now. You may also attract new relationships, ones built on mutual respect, shared values, and soul resonance. These are relationships that support your light without demanding you shrink. Let your relationships reflect your resurrection, not restrain it. The responsibility of the renewed self. With renewal comes responsibility, not in the burdensome sense, but in the sacred sense. You are now more aware, more open, and more able to impact others. This doesn't mean you must fix or lead everyone. It means you live your truth with consistency, compassion, and courage. You become a precinct that uplifts simply by being. Your authenticity becomes a mirror that helps others see themselves. Reflection prompts. How have I changed through this journey? What does living in integrity mean for me now? What practices help me stay rooted in my truth? How can I serve without self-sacrifice? Maintaining the light. Resurrection is not a one-time event. It's a new rhythm. Staying connected to this energy requires intention. Life will still have challenge. But now you have a foundation. Anchor practices. Morning silence or meditation to set the tone for the day. Regular body care to stay grounded and resourced. Soul check-ins. Am I in alignment today? Community. With others who support your truth. Creative expression as a way to move energy and stay inspired. Beyond the dark night. The dark night has changed you, not by adding more, but by stripping away. How you live from essence, not ego. From being, not doing. From presence, not pretense. You are not the same person who began this journey. You are more whole, wiser, and more available to love. You have earned this resurrection, not rough effort, but through surrender. May you rise each day with renewed courage, May your presence bring peace to the spaces you enter. May you honor the path that brought why. Oh, you hear, and walk forward with grace. May you live as the light you've reclaimed. D. And trust that your being is enough. In the epilogue, we will explore how to carry this new way of being into daily life. Living the light is not about perfection. It is about presence, integrity, and devo, tie-in to the sacred within and around you. Epilogue, living the light. You've emerged from the dark night, transformed, not into someone different, but into someone deeper. This journey has stripped away the noise, the masks, and the illusions. What remains is the truth of who you are, luminous, rooted, and whole. Now, the invitation is not to return to life as it was, but to live in a new way. A way that honors your essence, protects your peace, and expresses your soul in every ordinary and extraordinary moment. Living in alignment. Living the light means living in alignment with your inner truth. It means that your outer choices reflect your inner clarity. It means saying yes to what uplifts you and no to what depletes you. It means trusting your intuition, even when others do not understand it. Alignment is not about perfection. It's about congruence. It's about choosing what nourishes your soul again and again. Embodying integrity. Spiritual integrity is the commitment to live what you know to be true. It means being honest with yourself, with others, and with life. It means making peace with your humanity and allowing your divinity to shine through your words, your actions, and your silence. Integrity invites you to speak truthfully, with kindness. Act from love, not fear. Admit when you're wrong, without shame. Celebrate your growth, without arrogance. This is how we live the light. Devotion in the everyday. Living the light doesn't require grand rituals. It asks for presence in the everyday. Why? Lighting a candle and whispering a prayer before you begin your day. Listening deeply when someone AKS. Choosing presence over distraction. Making meals with love and gratitude. Devotion is not what you do, it's how you do it. It's the spirit in which you live, create, rest, and relate. Staying rooted in the light. Even after resurrection, challenges will arise. You may doubt yourself. You may fall back into old patterns. But now, you have a compass, the wisdom of your own soul. When you forget who you are, return to stillness. Return to breath. Return to beauty. Return to truth. Let your practices hold you. Let your soul remind you. Daily anchors. Morning affirmations. I am the light. I am aligned. I am enough. Nature walks to reconnect with earth and rhythm. Creative expression to move energy and express emotion. Periodic solitude to listen plea. Sharing the light. You are not here to convince others of your light. You are here to embody it, to live it so fully and freely that others remember their own. You become a beacon, not by shining over others, but by standing in your truth, in your peace, in your love. Some will be drawn to you. Others may fall away. Let it be. You are not here to be everything to everyone. You are here to be why. Ourself. A fin. Al invitation. The dark night of the soul is a sacred initiation. It strips away the false so the true can rise. If you've walked through it, and you carry wisdom that the world needs. Share it. Live it. Trust it. You do not need to know the next step. You need only be present. T for this one. Let your life be your prayer. Let your presence be your offering. Let your being, be your light. Final blessing. May you walk in the world as a soul awake. May your every step be sacred. May your wounds beck. Om your wisdom. May your presence bring peace. May you live not in fear of the dark, but in honor of the light it reveal. Ed. And so it is. The Dark Night of the Soul. Transforming Despair into Spiritual Depth. 5. Spiritual Awakening Book 5. Narrator/producer. Soul Sanctuary Audio. Copyright Serafina Hartwell. For the update audiobook, click follow Soul Sanctuary Audio.